He's an excellent broadcaster and podcaster and talk show host as well. He comes to us today courtesy of Renegade Fantasy. The biggest evolution to fantasy football is here. Join the elite players who have already played Renegade, home of the clock stoppage and real-time substitutions. And there's more. There's more game-changing fantasy football changes that Renegade has made. You can download Renegade Fantasy from the App Store and Google Play today. Cash prizes are available in Mark's Stinkin' Truth Fantasy Showdown League, and he joins us now. Hello, Mark.
How are you guys doing, man? It's great to be with you.
We're good. We appreciate it. Crowder is doing the show from Green Bay today. He's at the Green Bay training camp, and I'm in South Florida. And before we talk about fantasy football and Renegade, I want to talk about the real thing, because the Dolphins' week 1 opponent is the Indianapolis Colts. And a couple days ago, they named Daniel Jones the starter over Anthony Richardson. And I was wondering your thoughts on that decision from Shane Steichen.
I mean, I don't think it's much of a decision. And I look at the two quarterbacks, what are you choosing? I talked about it on my podcast. You're talking about the turd sandwich with the the difference between a turd sandwich with a turd sandwich with sprinkles on it. Like neither of them are any good. So I don't know what you want me to tell you about either of those guys. It's one of the problems. And Channing played for a long time. I played for a long time. I'm in as a 10th rounder out of Idaho. It's one of the problems with the way we evaluate players come draft time and come combine time. It's all about 40s and bench press tests and all that kind of stuff. Show me a guy that runs a fast 40. I'll show you a guy who's fast. Doesn't mean he can play. And, the top 10 benchers of all time that came out of the combine, none of them are worth the score to piss. So, you tell me what's important. How
do you really feel about them, Schlereth?
Yeah, but seriously, football is easy for football players. It's really hard for athletes. I want football players. That's what I want. And, we get enamored a guy like Anthony Richardson, he's the greatest athlete to ever come out to play quarterback position. He's going to be great. That doesn't mean he's a good quarterback. How do you process information? How quickly can you process information? How accurate with you are you with the football? And the thing about playing quarterback, or at least throwing accurately, you can't be accurate if you're not on time. You can't be on time if you don't understand what you're looking at. So our evaluation process when it comes to the draft and when it comes to players is just it's ridiculous at times. And that's why we get it wrong. So that's why 50% of the first rounders are busts.
Yeah, Stink. A conversation I've had 100 times was, wouldn't Usain Bolt be a great receiver? No, he'd get jammed up at the line and knocked out on his first post pattern. No, he wouldn't be a good football player. He's just fast. But speaking of the Dolphins, this is something going on right now because they lost Jalen Ramsey, and now Storm Duck is their one. Jack Jones tried to come in, and I was at Detroit Dolphin camp, and Amon-Ra St. Brown made Jack Jones look like a middle schooler. The thing is that our pass rush, now they bring in Judon. They already had Jalen Phillips. They have Bradley Chubb. They got Sealer, who led the team in sacks. They got Kenneth Grant now, who's a power guy. This front seven is going to make up for the cornerbacks. I'm not buying into that concept that a good pass rush can make up for mediocre at best cornerbacks.
Yeah, I think that, we always talked about having that symbiotic relationship between pass rush and pass coverage. And in today's game with so much spread and so much 3 wide sets and 4 wide sets and tight ends who don't block anybody but run routes and running backs who can run out of the backfield, man, coverage becomes such an important part. The coverage actually leads to the pass rush. If you can cover long enough, you can get to the quarterback. And especially when you consider, how the league has changed. I mean, when I came in the league, man, we threw so many 7-step drops it'd make your head spin. Now you don't even have, you go in game plans without a 7-step drop. It's unbelievable the way the passing game is all east and west to the edges, 3-step drops. There was no such thing as a tunnel screen when I came in the league. It hadn't been developed yet. So now you've got tunnel screens, bubble screens, smoke screens. You've got swing passes to the backs, screens to the backs, everything is underneath the quick, 3-step drop game, 5 steps without a hitch. There's a very limited opportunity to throw the ball deep. And you look at the quarterback you guys have in Miami, he had the shortest or the fastest snap to throw in the National Football League last year at 2.42 seconds. It's just hard to get to the quarterback. So you damn well better have guys that can jam people up and that can cover and that can press and can do those things. So I'm with you. You got to have a great pass rush, no question about it. But the bottom line is to create a great pass rush, I think you've got to have some great secondary players.
I'll stick with the Dolphins. I'll move to the offensive side of the football. Just genuinely, interested in the more national perspective around this team, and even from a fantasy perspective, can you trust this team on the offensive side of the football? We know Tyreek Hill, Achane, Waddle, like the talent is there, but we all know it hinges on one thing, and that's the quarterback Tua Tagovailoa staying healthy. Do you trust that he can stay healthy? Do you trust that this Dolphins offense can make up for maybe some of the deficiencies on that defensive side of the football?
Yeah, I think the issue that I get into with the passing game, and I've done some of your guys' games, is when it's in rhythm, like there's nobody better in my mind than Tua when it comes to throwing guys open or throwing into holes when they're open with anticipatory throws. He is awesome at that, on time, in holes, and giving the receivers opportunities to just make big plays. And when you have Waddle and you have Tyreek Hill and those guys, man, it's pretty amazing, right? The problem is when you shut some of those windows down, then I think it becomes a very sub-average quarterback. When he's under duress or those instant openings, those instant windows, those things that you count on or you rely on aren't open, then I think that kind of secondary, that ability to move in the pocket, ability to make something happen after those things, that's where the Miami Dolphins truly struggle. When they're on time and in rhythm in their passing game, I think they're exceptional. It's the other things, when things do get shut down, when you close out those windows and when you put Tua under some pressure, that's when things seem to fall apart in this offense. And I think in the past they've done a really good job in the construction of their running game. And I think, offensively, they do a really good job schematically of getting advantages in the running game. But when all of a sudden some of that stuff breaks down, they don't do a very good job of just lining up and saying, we're tougher, we're bigger, we're better than you, and we're going to just show you how good we are. That's not really what their style has been, or that's, to me, where they've struggled.
And with Frank Smith bringing in Darren Waller, who hasn't practiced a bit, he hasn't even run a route with Tua or anybody else on the field. I keep saying or thinking it's a bonus piece. Like if Darren works out, then now it's a bonus piece. Does he have a chance? He retired. I always say, Stink, if a guy's hung it up, he can never take that hanger off the hook. Like you've actually hung up football. Do you think Darren Waller can be successful? And do they need him to be successful to really have that offense that Solana asked about?
Well, that dude retired 4 years ago and didn't tell anybody, and then he officially retired like 3 years later. Like he was retired while he was still playing. So you tell me. Like I'm 100% with you. He had a year where he was exceptional, and then it was like, all right, I'm going to shut her on. I'm going to shut her on down. I've done my service. So, and the fact that he hasn't played or hasn't taken a snap yet, based on what you're telling me, that does not bode well. Like there was a time where I thought he was pretty complete, and I thought, man, this kid's going to be great. And then it was just like he was done playing. He didn't want to play anymore. And so, there are those guys that get paid and then they shut it down and are done playing. And I'd be surprised if Darren Waller is actually productive this year.
Mark Schlereth is with us. I want to talk about the Renegade Fantasy app. Before that, though, real quick, do you think the Dolphins, because there's all this talk about they're going to be an abject disaster, but then there are others who say, you know what, this is a wild card team. There doesn't seem to be a consensus on what the Dolphins are. I'm curious what you think.
Yeah, I've got a hard time because I know, hell, Coach Mike McDaniels was a ball boy when I played in Denver. That's how far we go back. So I remember him as a ball boy, and I think he's incredibly creative. there are things that bother me, like when we're going to start meetings 24 after the hour because we haven't won anything in 24 years. As a veteran player and a guy that played a long time in this league, that makes me roll my eyes. Like that's not going to be the difference between winning and losing. And so, I like that kind of stuff. That gimmicky stuff doesn't sit well. I just am like, whatever, dude. But I just think they're talented, and I think they're schematically. I think they're a tough team to match up with. I just worry about when your initial plan doesn't work. And I always talk about this with just the run game in general. Like when you're out of rhythm as an offense in the passing game, can you line up in two tight ends and absolutely bludgeon somebody into submission? Because if you can do that, then you can get your rhythm back in the passing game. But it's really hard as an offense just to throw yourself back in rhythm when things aren't working for you. And I just don't know that they can line up and play that style of football.
That's pretty fair analysis from what we've watched.
It's what I say. They couldn't get 5 yards in the first game against the Bears. 5 yards and 3 downs. Yeah. That's a problem.
It's fair analysis because when they do get out of rhythm, they're almost impossible to get it back in. And that was the way that you put that out there is probably spot on for a lot of observations that we've heard. I'm thinking about like what Aronde says, where there's a plan A, but there's no plan B. That was pretty spot on analysis.
It just comes from experience. Like I've had my ass kicked plenty. And I've had plenty of opportunities to kick some ass. And the teams that won championships that I played for, it was like dodgeball. Like we're better than you and we know it. That's how we line up, and we just be like, we're going to run 18 handoff or 19 handoff. We're going to run down your freaking throat, and there's nothing you can do about it. And, I always call it the 10,000 hour rule. I've done it 10,000 times. You've defended it 100 times. I'm better than you, and I know it. And here, let's go. And so there is that attitude that you have to have. And sometimes when you are so smart, that always bothers me too. In today's NFL, there's a lot of, hey, we need to get in a premium play on offense. And sometimes, what you need to do? Line up, go on first sound and say, this play is 18 handoff force and it's good against everything. And we're going to shorten your neck for a while and see how you respond as a defense. And there's not enough of that in the NFL anymore.
Certainly not from the Dolphins very much. Mark Schlereth is with us, courtesy of Renegade Fantasy. You can download the app from the App Store or Google Play today. So I was telling you at the beginning of the segment some of the differences. Why is Renegade Fantasy a better way to play fantasy football for fantasy players?
Well, it's only a better way if you're a responsibility taker. If you're a victim like a lot of America, then you don't want to play this, right? Because then you can't point the finger at the fantasy player that cost you your game. So, like, if you're a victim, don't play on Renegade Fantasy. But if you like to control things, like you'd like to be in charge and you want to sit down your running back who ain't worth the score to piss, you can do that. Like you're right in the first quarter, he's not producing, you can bench him and go to your backup. Your quarterback gets hurt, bench him, go to your backup. You can do that throughout the game. So it gives you the opportunity to be like a coach and be in control. That's what I like about it. And that's what we, spent 3 years trying to figure out and create, and how we got the patent on it.
Very cool. So people are taken to it. They like it.
I think people really like it. Yeah. And it's pretty cool. So it's, like I said, it's an awesome thing, and it allows you no more excuses. You can't sit there and blame, you can't point the finger at some running back who's not producing and saying, you suck and you cost me my fantasy league and I'm going to send you a nasty, X thread. You know what? You're in control. Bench him. Drop a set and bench him. How about that?
I love that. That's actually a good tagline. Drop a set and bench him.
Yeah.
Mark Schlereth, the Renegade Fantasy app, available right now in the App Store or Google Play. Cash prizes are available in Mark's Stinkin' Truth Fantasy Showdown League, which you can find there as well. Mark Schlereth, we appreciate your time, man.
My pleasure. Be well, guys. Take care.